Well, guys, I think it is safe to say that we have feelings. Welcome to a Notsam Wrestling emergency podcast where we have feelings because Mariah May has debuted in NXT. Unbelievable surprise tonight on NXT. Mariah May debuts to simply put the women's division on notice in NXT and let them know that the division has become a lot more glamorous. Look, we were talking about this, days ago, 2 days ago. And yes, I'm wearing the feelings t-shirt. I didn't plan it. I didn't know. I knew I'd have feelings. I didn't know I'd have siren-worthy feelings to share with you coming off of NXT. But here we are because Mariah May is in NXT. Although, I don't know if she'll be Mariah May for long. Another debut that we got so quickly that we didn't even have them named. The last person this happened to, Ricky Saints. Ricky Saints showed up. With like 2 days notice that he wasn't in AEW anymore. And we know who he is, but we don't know what his name was. Mariah May shows up. We know Mariah May. We've been watching Mariah May, but we don't know if she's still Mariah May. So I'm getting ahead of myself. We were just talking on the episode that dropped on Monday about the fact that I feel like it was over the weekend, maybe late last week. It was mere days ago that Mariah May was taken off the AEW roster. And while wild speculation reigns supreme, surprises are still real and still possible in this world of professional wrestling because nobody, first of all, I think a lot of us, myself included, just looked at the information in front of us and assumed that Mariah May would end up in WWE. What I don't think anybody knew for sure was whether it would be main roster, whether it would be NXT, and what nobody said was that it was already going to happen tonight. So, JCJ, and so what we said was she was removed from the roster, and it was like, oh, maybe we'll see her. It could be this, it could be that, and now it's a reality. The speculation after 2 days has officially ended. JC Jane, and already, by the way, we were in shock coming off of last week's NXT. JC Jane wins the women's championship from Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer ends up going to Monday Night Raw. Stephanie Vaquer ends up in a women's Money in the Bank qualifier. Stephanie Vaquer ends up going into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Where does this leave the NXT Women's Champion? Part of the reason it was such a shock was not just because Stephanie Vaquer lost the title, but because it wasn't Jordan Grace or one of the new signings. It was JC Jane, who has been paying her dues in NXT just about since the beginning of 2.0. And JC Jane becomes the NXT Women's Champion. That was 7 days ago. And she comes out on NXT and she addresses the NXT Women's Division. And she's got Fatal Influence with her. And she addresses the fact that people were surprised by it. And she addresses the fact that people were talking about her like she was playing third wheel. And she says all of it. And then the women's division starts coming out. And what this becomes is JC Jane establishing what this new women's division looks like with her as champion. And Jada Parker is out there and Thea Hale is out there. And there's a brawl going on. And all of a sudden the lights go out. And usually on Raw or SmackDown, when the lights go out, you can kind of guess, right? There's kind of some speculation as to who it probably is. The lights go out, and for me, I said there's like a handful of people that it could be. Who is this? And boom, the lights come on, and there's Mariah May. Vic Joseph. The fans are going nuts. They know exactly who it is. She's up in the crow's nest. Vic Joseph is saying the NXT just got a lot more glamorous. Corey Graves is saying, oh my God, this is even better in person. And Mariah May picks up that microphone and she says, I have finally arrived. And she says, finally arrived. Now, this speculation as to when Mariah May was going to arrive, it was like 48 hours. So when she says, I have finally arrived, it makes me feel like what she's telling us is, she's one of these people who this was her dream. coming to NXT, coming to the WWE was always the goal for Mariah May. That's what I got out of that statement. She said, "You can call me." And I said, "New name?" And she said, "The next NXT Women's Champion." And I said, "Oh, okay. All right. You're going to leave us waiting. You're going to leave us trying to figure it out." And then she says, "Because the best women's division in the world just got a lot more glamorous." And the people go nuts, and the commentators go nuts, and the women's division doesn't know what to do with themselves. And here we are with a reality that Mariah May has skyrocketed to the top of the NXT women's division. What you've got is, and I talk about the movement, the mobility in the NXT roster, and that is a real strength of NXT. But when you look at the fact that Jordynne Grace got beat by Stephanie Vaquer at Battleground, Stephanie Vaquer is on the main roster. Roxanne Perez is on the main roster. Julia is on the main roster. All of a sudden, this division that was described as the best women's division in all of wrestling has lost a huge amount of star power. So what are we going to do to maintain this, right? That's not just a catchphrase. That's part of the branding of NXT. That's something that NXT holds their hat on. Well, it's time to inject new life into the women's division. It's time to inject new star power into the women's division. And that's Mariah May. Mariah May, to me, and I've sang her praises for a long time. I sang the praises of what she did in AEW and the entire, the Mariah May, Toni Storm story in AEW is just one of the best wrestling stories, period, that's been told anywhere in the last several years. It's great. It's amazing. And it couldn't have been done had it not been for those two talents, Toni Storm and Mariah May. It was perfection, and it was executed to perfection. That story is told, and it's almost told, the perfect bow is put on it, and Mariah May now arrives in NXT. Mariah May is seasoned. Not only does she have the ability to have great matches, she's ready in the ring, but she has the ability to tell amazing stories, does great character work, does great promo work, obviously immediately looks like a star, and there's just something unique about Mariah May, and there always has been. This isn't one of those situations where, oh, he's saying this now because she's in WWE. Do your research. I've been saying it the whole time. If any of you who watch this show, who listen to this podcast, are not familiar with Mariah May, all you have to do is go back and look at the last match she had in AEW. I think that was at Revolution in March, I want to say. It was the last match between Toni Storm and Mariah May. And it was, the kids talk about cinema these days in professional wrestling. It was cinema. It was absolutely perfect as a cap on that story. If you've got the time, I would go back and watch that entire story. Because if you do yourself the favor and watch the work that Mariah May did with Toni Storm over the last couple of years in AEW, you will realize what kind of potential that there is in WWE now and in NXT now. I'm kind of surprised because I would have thought that Evolution would be the place that Mariah May showed up, but here we are, 6 weeks, before Evolution, not even close. We got multiple premium live events before Evolution, and she's here for it. Who knows, right? NXT's doing the Great American Bash the same weekend as Evolution. Is she going to be performing at Evolution? Is she going to be performing at the Great American Bash? Is she going to be performing at both? Maybe it'd be one of those scenarios where she gets her NXT championship match at the Great American Bash, and you do a gimmick where, whoever wins the NXT championship goes on to Evolution the day after the Great American Bash, because Great American Bash is the Saturday, Evolution's the Sunday. The next day, whoever wins the NXT championship goes to Evolution to have a match at Evolution. I don't know, but I will tell you that we were, I want to say on the Monday show, 554, we were talking about the division and what Evolution could potentially look like. I think that's the show that I talked about it on. I do a lot of shows these days. But adding Mariah May into the mix has made things a lot more interesting. She did all this work in AEW. Of course, made her bones, started in the UK independent scene, went over to Japan, and really first made that big name for herself, I want to say. I mean, people were hearing about her in the UK, but her work in Stardom, her work with Mina Shirakawa that ended up on AEW TV as well and ended up as part of that Tonyverse, I'll say, and I say Tonyverse in a good way. It's a great universe. All of that contributed to this foundation that she's created, and in a relatively short period of time, because most of the significant work that that Mariah May has done has been like post-pandemic, has really been in the last 2-3 years. So in a relatively short amount of time, she's created this amazing foundation where she can now show up and she can now make this impact and she can now have this level of anticipation and have expectations put on her to this level, because she is one of those people that is going to make you tune into NXT. And I don't think she'll be in NXT long. I think she'll be on the main roster very, very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if, excuse me, still surprised about it. Maybe she doesn't even get an NXT title run, Maybe she ends up doing one story in NXT, because I almost, I want to say by the time Evolution hits, I'd like to see Mariah May on the main roster by SummerSlam. I mean, that's the level of faith I have in Mariah May. The idea of, it's going to be great, right? Seeing Mariah May work with some of the people that are in NXT now. If Jordan Grace sticks around, the idea of Mariah May and Jordan Grace. The idea of Thea Hale and Mariah May. There's something really cool there. But the matches that I'm really looking for are now those main roster matches. In terms of just a straight wrestling match, Mariah May versus Stephanie Vaquer is going to be something from another planet. In terms of stories, I think Mariah May, the first thing you look at is, of course, Mariah May and Tiffany Stratton and how there are similarities, but Mariah May is this wrestler. Mariah May is Tiffany Stratton was an athlete who became a wrestler. Mariah May is a wrestler. And what does that look like when those two, when Tiffany Stratton took the road that Mariah May once thought was for her, but Mariah May had to create her own road entirely to get to the same destination that Tiffany Stratton got to? What does that look like in the ring in terms of telling a story? Is there something, I almost want to see Charlotte and Mariah May as a team more than I want to see them wrestle each other. The idea that these two kind of take over the division by sheer and utter power. I love that idea. The match that's in my head, the match that I can't get out of my head, is Mariah May versus Rhea Ripley. And the idea of the story that you could tell. And what are they doing? They're doing a show in Perth, maybe in October. The idea of going to Perth with Mariah May versus Rhea Ripley, possibly. Maybe it's a WrestleMania match. Maybe I'm already thinking about the Royal Rumble. My expectations are high. I'm sure that yours are too. There's an excitement in the air. Superstars moving, going spot to spot. It's a good thing for wrestling, man. It's a good thing for wrestling. It keeps us on our toes as fans. It keeps promotions on their toes when wrestlers have other places to go. And it makes wrestlers be the best versions of themselves that they can be. Because not only are they looking at opportunities that exist right in front of them, but they are looking at opportunities everywhere. Because we are back to that space that we had during the Monday Night War, where you had multiple places for wrestlers to go, and both of those places, and all of those places, I should say, because you don't just have WWE and AEW, you have TNA, you have New Japan, you have a healthy independent scene. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of story to tell across a lot of ground that is professional wrestling. And tonight, we look at what Mariah May looks like in NXT. Don't forget to subscribe to the show across audio platforms. Leave a 5-star rating. Leave a review if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. Leave a comment on Spotify. Watch the podcast. Every podcast gets posted over at youtube.com/NotSamWrestling. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Watch all the podcasts. Leave a comment. Hit like. And I mean, I would say we'll talk in a week or so, but it could be a lot sooner. We'll talk again.